Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Anchor of the Week, where we have hard conversations, hear people's stories, and challenge perspectives. My name is Courtney.
And I'm Zach.
And we are coming in hot with a new episode and a new series for you guys this week. Yes.
Big one today.
Big one. We are diving in to the world of your mind, behavior, psychology, therapy, all of that. I'm really excited.
Yes. We are going to dive in. So this is the start of a series, team.
Yeah.
And we want to basically dive into how our minds work, what we say, and how that relates to the mind, our behaviors, things like that.
Yes.
So we're going to try and look at things from different perspectives.
Yeah.
But today is specifically on what is the actual proper term for it. Therapy, self-chat.
Therapy speak.
There we go. Same,
yes. Same thing. Same
the official term, yeah.
But basically...
Okay, what is that, though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because just to take it back even a couple steps, if we want to talk about, what, therapy or psychology and our behaviors of today, we have to kind of look at the landscape of how we as society are viewing these things, right?
Yeah, right.
And therapy speak right now is like one of the hottest topics. It is literally, it's like incorporating therapy terms into like your everyday life.
Right.
And so it's all like, I have so many thoughts. We're probably going to go all over the place.
We are. It's good. Yeah.
But it's like using these terms and like, I don't want to jump ahead, but it's like me acting like my own licensed therapist, essentially.
Right.
And there are some really great things about this. There's some really not great things about it.
Yeah. And it's like diagnosing yourself a little bit, right? And
it can be, yeah.
Kind of, yeah, or like forms of it. And you kind of go, well, I have this, so this is how I need to act and behave and stuff like that.
That's definitely a certain side of it.
It's from my own diagnosis. It's not like I have an official thing about it, right?
And that's like the large part of therapy speak. It's not like, okay, I've been to therapy and my therapist or my counselor or whoever has told me, hey, in your life, try to incorporate these or like try to express yourself this way. This is Instagram therapy. These are 30-second clips of, psychologists telling you how to break up with a friend, which is a really, really big one. And okay, we'll link it in the show notes because I want you guys to be as interested in this as I am. Maybe you're not, I don't know. But there are 3 main articles that we'll be pulling from today. One is by The New Yorker, one is by Refinery29, and one is by Bustle. And they all actually have very different answers or like conclusions and takeaways, which is so fascinating. And I've listened to a few podcasts which also have different takeaways. So there's definitely some good aspects, but some of it's just weird.
Yeah. Let's go through an example of what it would be, just to give people a bit more of like context even.
Okay.
So talk me through like what would be...
Okay, we're going to go through... Okay, so the articles obviously used more extreme cases, right? Yep. And then we can talk about less extreme cases. Because as I was researching this article, being like, I have such strong opinions on therapy speak, I realized I do this. And like, I could think of conversations and like, it would have, examples. And I was like, I literally just said that last week. Like,
yeah.
So this is going to be interesting. We can unpack that.
Oh man. I'm probably going to realize I do it, I guess. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see how exposing this episode gets. Let me see. There's one... Okay, so basically, I don't know if I actually pulled the quote, which would be classic me, everything else. Here we go.
You got it?
No, I don't have it, so I'll just go from my memory.
That's fine. Yeah.
But basically there's a couple, one of the big examples used, I believe it was in the Bustle article, was a friend invites her friend, like, let's just say it's my birthday. Yeah. I'm inviting 4 of my closest friends to like have dinner and drinks or whatever. Yeah. One friend is like 25 minutes late. I'm like, okay, that's but whatever. You're here. I'll enjoy whatever. We'll have a good time. Then they go home. That friend that was late then calls the birthday friend and was like, I want you to know I felt super unloved tonight and like all this stuff. Like using these terms of like unloved and there's another one I don't even remember. But like these kind of words, you know what I mean? Like, and or like a lot of, I'm really...
Keep going.
Yeah. Also, I don't know what's happening behind the camera right now. I'm not going to lie. This is distracting me a little bit. I want you to know that Kaylee, our camera woman, is sitting with her phone facing a mirror, facing the camera. Guys, this is what we have to deal with when we film.
Yeah.
But basically, like another thing is holding space. Okay. Like, I can't hold space for you right now. And this is a big thing that like a friend calls you like, hey, there's another example. I don't remember where. All these articles are blending in my brain, but it's like, hey, can we like talk for a bit? Like, I've got something, you know, it's like, well, I actually don't have like the emotional space. I can't hold space for you right now. If you were to ever to call me and be like, hey, I need to talk to you, I'd be like, I can't hold space for you right now.
Yeah, that's weird.
No, if I was going through something and I literally couldn't, why would I tell you I couldn't hold space? Yeah. I'd be like, yo, listen, try somebody else. What can we talk tomorrow? You know what I mean? Yeah. Or like
hold space is a weird term to use.
Yeah, right? Like, and it's like all of a sudden we've become super clinical about everything. Yeah. And I think for me, like if we're gonna go for the overarching thing, this is what gets me is that we don't understand relationships anymore, and we're turning everything clinical. That's my thesis.
And I think it's a selfish way of thinking as well, isn't it? So it's very much like centered around yourself and what do I need? And I feel like we've touched on this before in previous episodes about other things, but like it is genuinely about like, oh, I look at like, what can I cope with? What is good for me? What can I deal with? Like, what do I want? And it's kind of, basically trying to fit you into my life. And I think that's a tough way to go about it.
It is tough. I mean, we do need boundaries. We could talk about boundaries for a second if you want to, because it is so important to have boundaries with people. Yeah. And it's like, okay, like if there are boundaries that are being overstepped, or something that's not healthy, then please address it, correct it. But what I think we've like come to somehow understand is that like setting a boundary is cutting somebody off, and that's not a boundary. So then this morning I was listening to a different podcast. Okay. This one was very good. But basically it said boundaries are for the purpose of defining where the freedom is. Boundaries is not cutting somebody off. Boundaries is, okay, like this is our limit, but then we have the freedom within that limit. Yeah. To still be friends, to still whatever, to still have relationship. But we don't have but there's a certain point when we realize, okay, that's getting unhealthy. Yeah. So then we like don't cross that boundary. Yeah. Right. But also like we need to set boundaries for ourselves. Yeah. Excuse me, as well. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. Cause I'm always like, we need to set boundary in this relationship because like, I don't know, when you say these kind of things or whatever, like it triggers, which is another word, which I've, anyway.
I mean, trigger is very, I think it's a very commonly used
It is.
Yeah. You don't think it should be?
No. Well, I use it all the time, so it better be. Yeah. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Okay, so let's put a pin in trigger and let's go back to boundaries. Okay. But like, okay, for example, I need to set a self boundary and I need self-control for my boundary, because if I tell you, okay, like we can't talk about these things anymore, then that means I can't talk to you about these things anymore. That means I have responsibility for my boundary. Do you know what I mean? Okay, right. Where a lot of times I feel like now in the whole self-centered, it's like, you can't cross my boundary anymore. Yeah. But it's no, if I'm setting that boundary, I'm responsible to be the one that sets that boundary. Yeah. Right? There's more like action in that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. Like, especially with that example of like, like what did she say? She said, I don't have time for you. No,
I can't hold space for you.
Hold space for you. I think. Yeah. Yeah. Those are just weird terms. I think a relationship, it seems, I don't know if less formal is the right way of going about it, but it's relational, isn't it? Yeah. It's a conversation. It's not just I don't know, that terms like that really make it like cutthroat, and it's like a formal arrangement. Well, and it's like legally you have to use these words and like go around things. It's like a contract. Yes. But I think that's not relationships.
And this is a big thing, is that people are saying that all of a sudden my friend is talking to me like they're an HR rep.
Right.
It's like
weird. Yeah.
It's so weird. Yeah. But there was this other quote about like how we like misuse words, or like using therapy speak, and how it's like, because you say that and it's like, okay, well, maybe you don't have a close relationship, or are you so afraid of the confrontation that you can't be like, hey, like actually, like, this hurts me, when this happens, can we work it out? Can we talk about it? Yeah. When like, it's like, stay away. I don't know. Yeah. But this quote says, it was from the New Yorker article. It says, invoking trauma, like using the word trauma, where harm might suffice, could play into the hands of people who despise and fear vulnerability. Because if I say, like, oh, I'm sorry, like that, like triggered a trauma, or like that's, it's my trauma. Yeah. You can't speak into that. Right. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, that's serious. Yeah. Like we can't like,
Yeah. Because I think when you have therapy sessions and stuff like that, you've gone to them because of a serious case, right? Or like you're really struggling with something. And so words and terms and their advice that they're giving you is because of the situation you're in or because of the things you're feeling. Like, and if you don't go to a therapist, like, it's almost like, do you have the license to still be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes? Or like those same situations, like it's like you're self-diagnosing yourself and you're like, oh, but I gotta think of an example now. Like if for example, you're going because of trauma and then someone else just has a bad experience, but it's just life, right? Or,
but see, that's the thing, because it's not black and white. Like there's no line that you can say that was traumatic and that's not traumatic.
But to use terms from a therapy session, that's tough. Tough to get my head around, to be honest.
One of like the experts in one of these articles did say though, like, why do we expect untrained people to use these words right? Like, we shouldn't. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, well, fair.
That's because those words are used for people who are, I guess, like with a therapist, like they're really struggling with something. That's not to say the other person isn't, but it's like they haven't gone into that space where it's like they understand.
Well, I think
those words more.
I agree with you mostly, to a certain extent. But I think as well, because I think no one goes through life unscathed.
No, for sure.
You know? Yeah. But it's more of like the...
But you're being walked with someone who like knows what these words mean, or the weight of it, or
maybe it's the weight of it, understanding the weight of it, because it's like I'm not just throwing out these words for my self-preservation.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the big issue. There you go. Boom.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the episode. No, just kidding.
Okay, so trigger. Next
word. Next topic conversation.
So what is the word trigger? Like it's a...
Because I was thinking about this.
It's a term.
Literally this morning. It is a term. And like a lot of times we use, someone with like PTSD or something like that, right? But it's also a very basic, as you were saying, word. If you pull the trigger, like, oh, that triggered me. It's like based off that. Like it's something that like invokes a reaction. Yeah. Right? Or like cause and effect is a trigger, right? If I pull the trigger, the gun's going to shoot, you know? If I get triggered, something's going to like react. Yeah. So I think like it's not a bad word. Yeah. You know? Yeah. But I think like...
So do you not think you should be using it? Because you use it a lot, don't you? I mean, I use it a lot. Yeah. I don't think you're the only one. Yeah. Not to point at you. But like...
Hey, but yeah, I do.
So do you think you shouldn't be using that term? Or...
Well, here's the thing. Okay? It's been a year of learning a lot of things about myself. And I found out that a lot of things triggered me this year. Okay? Some of it, very, very valid and real things. But then it became so part of my language that I was like, does this actually trigger me? Or am I just upset?
Right.
Anyway, thanks. I'm
so
done.
when you say trigger, it means like there's something deeper there that you need to unpack. Whereas if you're upset, it's more of a surface level.
It's an
emotional reaction. Yeah.
Because being triggered is not just being upset. Trigger is cause and effect. Something triggered a reaction, so you have to find out what that trigger was. You know what I mean? Right. If you say something dumb and I'm upset about it, I'm just upset because whatever, we had a fight or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? But if something happens, I feel like,
it's tough because I think where you scratch the surface of like, oh, this qualifies for this explanation and this doesn't.
Because I'm also not a therapist.
Right. And it's not like, I guess like you were saying before, it's like, it's not black and white, is it? It's not. No. This person's experience is not as valid. Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of tough.
It's very tough.
We can't sit here and just be like, well, this is a good reason to be upset and this is a good reason to...
Exactly, because that is also something, is that you don't know somebody else's triggers. Yeah. So it's like in this weird way of being like, why are we using it so haphazardly and like almost carelessly, where everything's trigger, everything's trauma. Yeah. At the same time, I do appreciate this conversation because like it helps us care a bit more, because sometimes something totally normal will set me off or whatever. Mm-hmm. But then I realized like, oh, it's actually something that's deep, you know, like a wound from childhood or something, you know. Yeah. Oh, we can talk about our inner child later too.
Oh gosh. Our inner child? Maybe your inner child? Maybe mine. Mine. Who knows where this will go. But
we'll pin that, because that is another one that... Anyway. I have so many thoughts, but so many things parallel.
Well, it's just using those terms or those expressions quite loosely, and then you create this whole
But it is good because then it's like, oh, like, well, why are you reacting? Stop being reacting. All I said was a comment, but it's having this understanding. Okay, maybe something I said, actually, it's not about what I said. Maybe it triggered something more. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, this is so interesting because it's really hard to get that right.
It's so hard,
especially for me. I feel like I sympathize less, or I'm someone who naturally it's harder to be like, oh, I have grace for like someone who maybe, I don't know, takes something and is like, oh, that's really tough, and then they kind of mull in their feelings and stuff like that. Like I do struggle.
Zach gets over things very quickly.
Well, okay, hold on. No, I wouldn't say I get over things, but I would just say like, you know, I'm just like, man, it's not a big deal. Or I'll be like, I think just less understanding of like the context of the other person. And I've learned that like that's a big deal. And I'm learning that like different people have different, I guess, like capacity to be able to take something. I guess, I don't know if it is capacity. Maybe it's just experiences and because of their past.
So can you hold space for them?
I guess. Yeah, that's so interesting. I don't know. Yeah. I'm thinking out loud here, but...
Because, like, this is the thing. I did not realize how prevalent it was in my daily life until I was researching this more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like...
We are soft, though, aren't we?
Like, us or a society?
Just society, I think. We are soft, aren't we?
Like a good soft or a bad soft?
I don't know. I mean, my first thing would be, like, a bad soft. I know that's a bit controversial maybe, but do you know what I mean? Where like, I think life is like simpler than sometimes we make it out to be. But I know I'm the devil's advocate. Hold on, before I continue. And I have a bunch of people saying things and staring. But like...
a bunch of people staring.
A bunch of people, 3 people in this room, 4 people. But like, I would say like, just sometimes we do kind of, I don't know, give space for things or make things bigger than they are. That's the devil's advocate. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not to say that someone's experiences, then that's invalid. Yeah. And I do understand that.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to close that door and then we're going to move on. Because my devil's advocate part of this topic is more like along the lines of like it's almost like our cop out. Do you know what I mean? So not like
this sort of chat.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you know, so it's less of like, well, I'm using like everything's offending me. It's more like, well, if I tell you that I can't hold space for you and I tell you that I felt unloved at your birthday party or whatever, and this, I'm actually not telling you what it is that's upsetting me about our relationship.
You're just saying that's enough kind of thing.
Yeah. And so boundaries has become ghosting, you know, or cutting people out. But that is not a real relationship. That's not a real friendship. That's not a real whatever kind of relationship you have, whether it's, you know, partner or, you know, mom or sister or like whatever. Like,
yeah,
you know.
So we're soft.
In a good way.
So wait,
no. I think like I'm using it so I don't have to be vulnerable, which is actually being hard.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah. No, yeah, that makes sense.
Right?
Yeah, I get that.
So, like, to me, that's, I think, out of all the research and everything, and a little bit of self-reflection that I've done, is like, if it's being used as a defense mechanism, the idea of therapy, the idea of these things is to get to know yourself, to better yourself, to like...
To move forward,
to heal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're not using therapy speak to heal. We're using it to look out for our best interests and to like self-preserve.
Yeah. That's
not healing. Self-preservation is not healing. Wow.
Yeah. Flashback, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Can we agree on that point?
No, we do agree on that. Yeah, I get that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that. We did it. But yeah.
No, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah. So how do you think that we could use this then in like a... Because I use these terms all the time. I can't even for the life of me picture you even saying...
What?
Talking about your trauma or like... Do you know what I mean?
Well, why? I wonder why that is. I mean, that honestly, it's a new way of thinking, genuinely. But I know it's a big way of thinking and that it's important. But I think before past couple of years, like I wouldn't think twice
You
about
wouldn't have thought twice. No.
Not so much, honestly. No, I wouldn't be like, oh, I feel this way. Oh, is it? Oh, I have a childhood thing. Oh, my dad did this. Like, I know that's very cliche, and like that's not downing anything. Like genuinely,
no,
because I know there's things that I react in certain ways because of probably things to do with my parents or stuff like that. But I'm not aware of like probably half of it.
Do you want to become more aware of it?
Honestly, I do, because I want to know myself better.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I really do. Sometimes I'm like, all right, God, like show me what's going on. And sometimes it'll be like a small thing, but I honestly do think, I need to be careful here, but I do think, I don't think it's complicated. I think there's reasoning for things, and I think there's like that's not to valid, and it's not to
Invalidate?
Yeah, invalidate like past experiences and stuff like that. But I think going forward, like, I don't know, just something about the idea of being simple. That doesn't mean it's easy or that it's like, I'm really struggling with the words here, but I just think sometimes we overthink a lot. And I think we create something that is bigger than it actually is, or give it space that it doesn't actually need, because I don't think giving it the space is going to help us move forward from it. It's like creating a bigger space than it actually needs to be. I think sometimes we'll like look back and be like, oh, I do this. And then we'll just sit in that and we'll take that with us for the next however long. We'll be like, well, this is the way I am, and this is what I struggle with. And the idea of figuring out your struggles is to move past them, right? It's not to just stick with them and have them side by side. So I think that's
it's one thing to identify. And I think a lot of times with therapy speak, we stop at I identified it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. And then it's about moving forward.
Exactly.
How you can take that.
Never mind the fact that we're now like falsely identifying things because we don't actually understand things.
Yeah.
But in that aspect, I can agree with you.
Fair.
There you go. Are we therapy speaking right now? No.
No.
What if we tried to have a whole episode where we just did
It's good.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. I think another thing as well. Oh. Yeah. Okay. This grinded my gears when I read this. Okay. But it says it's one of the articles.
You didn't say trigger.
Yeah, I did. Actually, this could have, but it didn't. So that's growth.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay. What is it? Yeah.
Anyway, on today's episode
Suspense.
of Courtney's childhood issues, it says last summer, this is from the Bustle article, Anna was dumped by a longtime friend over text. While making plans to meet up, the friend pivoted and told Anna she wanted to end their 5-year friendship. When Anna asked if it was something she did, her friend told her she wasn't comfortable answering. This is what I was trying to look for at the beginning of the episode, just so you know.
Yeah.
It says, and that there was no more room for discussion. I'm in a place where I'm trying to honor my needs and act in alignment with what feels right within the scope of my life. And I'm afraid our friendship doesn't seem to fit in that framework, the friend wrote. I can no longer hold the emotional space you've wanted me to, and think the support you need is beyond the scope of what I can offer.
Half that is like just all these weird phrases, not weird phrases, like therapy.
Yeah, like
speech, isn't it?
What was it? The scope?
Yeah,
like the support you need is beyond the scope of what I can offer.
Yeah.
Well, how about you don't have to be your friend's savior as well?
Yeah.
Like then set a boundary and encourage them to get actual help or something. Yeah. And what the big part of this or whatever was that it was one-sided, and because her friend asked if it was something that she did, and her friend told her she wasn't comfortable answering.
Yeah.
To me, nah.
You really value honesty, don't you?
Honesty, yes. Yeah. Communication. We love it. But that, to me, is like, that shows, that is the issue right there. Like, if I had, like, my finale to this, it's literally that.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not even giving that other person, like, any space to say anything. Yeah. And to me, that is when, like, therapy speak becomes selfish.
Yeah.
It is great that we're shining light on all these different, like, I mean, therapy used to be so taboo, and it's not now, and I love that, you know? But... yeah. Like that, I'm sorry, that's not therapy speak. That's selfishness and entitlement, and not an understanding of how to have an actual interpersonal relationship.
Yeah. So as the friend who's been told this, like, what do you think their stance is, though? Because, so let's flip the coin slightly. Like, what if that person is genuinely uncomfortable sharing anything, and because of their experiences has had, like, they're not able to share, or they're like, you know, it's a big push for them.
Okay, I guess my thing would be, how good of a friend are you?
Right.
If you're not that close, then you don't owe, I guess, that much of a explanation.
Then there doesn't need to be a conversation. Yeah.
No, you know, if you're acquaintances, then just don't respond to the messages. I don't respond to people's messages all the time.
Hey, me too.
I shouldn't have said that on.
Wow. We're going to come back to that.
No, we're not.
Beyond this episode. Anyway, yeah.
Anyway, now that's forever marked, and I can't roast him for never responding to messages. So love that for me. Anyway, you know what I mean? Yeah. But like, okay. But then I think the more like close your relationship is, the more explanation, because then that should be a relationship.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
It's two-sided.
And if we are actually close friends, and I know that you have trouble expressing your thoughts and emotions and whatever, and I would understand that, because I would know you well enough to know that you probably wouldn't give me an answer. Right. But again, it's like, there is no relationship. Yeah. Do you think any of this has to do with like our lives on social media?
Blimey. Wow.
I'm just thinking that, because I know we talk about like our Instagram therapist is therapy speak, but in general.
Yeah. I mean, I'm an old man when it comes to this, but yeah, for sure. I think social media has a huge impact on, because I think social media makes us, I know the idea of it is to make us more relational, but I think it makes us less relational. So
more shallow.
Yeah.
Or at least
more shallow. Yeah.
I guess.
I would say more shallow. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, you can hide behind something, you know?
Yeah.
So the same way I feel like some people hide, I guess, behind therapy speech, the way you were sharing before. Like, you don't have to be vulnerable with someone when you can use words like that, right? So yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Literally.
But we want to dive into, just kick the table. We want to dive into like, not even just this area, but we have a couple guests that we'd love to have on who want to who know therapy a little bit more, or at least the way, not even therapy itself, sorry, but
the way the mind works.
Yeah, the way the mind works and behaviors and things like that.
Yeah.
And the verses, yeah.
Yeah. But it's so interesting and so fascinating to take a look at like where we are standing in society, because I do think it is kind of cool. All of this and my rant that I've been on and everything. Hopefully it's kind of balanced, more or less. I don't know. But I do love that we're talking about it.
Yeah.
But I only like that we're talking about it if we're actually using it to propel us forward.
Yeah. That's the big home run, isn't it?
Yeah.
American term.
Yeah.
You're not American though.
No, so. But I do know what baseball is.
Oh yeah.
So. Go Blue Jays. Canada has one team in the MLB.
Nice.
And
Major League Baseball.
Good job.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much for joining us at the Anchor of the Week, where we have hard conversations, hear people's stories, and challenge perspectives.
Remember, you can stay connected by following us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, as well as subscribing to our YouTube channel.
Hope these conversations are inspiring you to have hard convos as well.
We'll see you next time, and remember, attack topics and not people.